Wyatt Singing Chaparral Choir. Here they are.
Merry Christmas.
Happy Hanukkah and all of those other wonderful holidays. We'll just cover whatever we can. My name is Brian Stratton. This is my 6th year, well, 7th year actually now, as director of the ODY at Singing Chaparrals. And I'm going to tell you, it was a struggle to get here. And last year, we didn't make it. And I called, and when Roy's office called me and said, we want you to be here, I said, honey, I don't care what it takes. If we have to call Santa Claus himself to fly us in, we will not break our record again of over 20 years of singing for the Commissioner's Court. Thank you for allowing us to bring this to you today from ODY. Thank you so very much. I'm not going to talk because I don't have much of a voice, but I will give you what we've come to bring you, the joy of the season. And on this special day, we want to be thankful and joyful for our ability to worship and to sing and to bring this time of the season to you. So our next song is Joy to the World. Don't step forward, please. They're new. Most of them are young. We only have the old, so they're new. Give them a break. All right. that star, the wise men who came to see the Christ child born. So who's going to sing the solo? You gonna sing? Okay. High solo with the lowest voice. I want to hear this. Here we go.
cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how they bow, raising their sound. Oh, let them tell, let them tell. And in every bar, people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding ding dong. Ding dong, ding dong, ding of good cheer from everywhere, filling the air. Oh, how we come, raising the sound, calling and telling their tale. Giving their ring while people sing songs of good cheer. Christmas is here. Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong. With joyful ring dong, ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
They sing on without it, their joyful hymns to every home.
Ding dong, ding dong.
As I said, this has been a special occasion for us every year. We have had some of the most wonderful experiences here. And we have alumni that go back over 20-something years that remember this fond of always going to the commissioner's court. We get to the point now where even our bus barn knows that sometime in December, they have to go pick up ODY. And somehow the paperwork got messed up. We called over there, okay, we'll send the bus over in 5 minutes. You guys have clout. You guys have clout. So we're thankful for this. This is so wonderful. And to have this opportunity. And I'd like to publicly thank Commissioner Roy Brooks. Every year you bless us by asking us to do this. And for years and years, you have given us, and the Commissioner's Court has given us this opportunity to bless this office and to bless these people. We want to publicly, and I want to publicly thank you for giving this school the opportunity to overcome all of the things that you might not hear good about it, but always see the best that ODY has. So to you, Commissioner Brooks, God bless you and thank you for what you do for us every year. We thank you.
Thank you to the Singing Chaparral Choir for your spirit of excellence over so many years. And this has been Precinct 1's gift to Tarrant County every year. So thank you very much.
Y'all help me this year. We've been trying to get him a starter jacket, and nobody seems to know his size. So before I leave here, get his size so I can get the jacket. And next year, June and I can come here and present him with a jacket to make him an official ODY singing chaparral.
I'd love that.
I will not leave this place without singing this song because I know I would be in trouble. You all know it. If you've been coming here for years, you know it. Please join in the angel song.
Angels sing hallelujah.
God. Sing, hey, come on, folks. Now, we know you have some business to attend to, and this is very special for us, and more so special for you. It has been an honor to be here in your presence, and the joy and the love and the forgiving you have brought and healing to the world. We thank you. This is a very special honor for us. And we're glad that we've had the opportunity and hopefully to give some blessing to you because you have truly blessed this world. Thank you so much, Dr. All right, Commissioner, we got to get back to school because you know we have to pass all those tests. All right. Thank you so much. God bless you all. Have a wonderful Christmas. Happy New Year. Happy Hanukkah. Lishana Tova, and all of that other good stuff. Take care. God bless.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. We're going out. Angel 1, 2. A 1, 2. We're going out. Angels we have heard on high, sweetly
That is something that we definitely look forward to every year, as was referenced, and as some of y'all may not know, we're gonna do things a little out of order today. The choir is always something we all look forward to this year. We're especially blessed, though, this year to also have someone here today who we've read a lot about, we've heard a lot about, and it is certainly our honor today to have Dr. Brantley here. Commissioner Brooks, I believe you have a proclamation. Would you like for me to read that in the record, or would you like to make some
I
comments?
will ask you to read it into the record in just a moment. But first, I want to say that God gives us many gifts. During this season, we celebrate the gift of His Son. But God also gives us others to model His love and to be the instruments of His grace here on earth. We honor such a man this morning who has demonstrated God's love through treating those in faraway lands who have been infected with the deadly virus Ebola, who himself was infected by the very disease that he was in West Africa to treat, who came home and was delivered from his illness, and then went on to provide the means for treatment and cure to other healthcare workers who had contracted Ebola working in West Africa. He did this by donating his own plasma to these individuals. We honor Dr. Kent Brantley this morning for his compassion, for his courage, for his selflessness, and for his radical humanity. Dr. Brantley has deep roots here in Tarrant County. He's one of us, and he's a personal hero of mine, though we just met this morning. I want to thank Ms. Joyce Brown from the Eastside Montessori School for being the conduit through which we were able to get Dr. Brantley here this morning. Thank you, Dr. Brantley. Thank you, Amber, Mrs. Brantley. And here come his two children, Ruby and Stephen. That is the entire Brantley family. Now, Judge, would you kindly read the proclamation into the record?
Whereas today we honor Dr. Kent Brantley, one of Tarrant County's favorite sons, for his selfless service in treating Ebola disease victims in Liberia, West Africa. And whereas at an early age, Dr. Brantley responded to a spiritual calling to make a difference in the lives of others and participate in mission trips to Uganda, Honduras, Nicaragua, Tanzania, and Haiti. And whereas he received his undergraduate degree from Abilene Christian University, completed medical school at Indiana University, and finished his residency at JPS Hospital. And whereas as a volunteer U.S. medical missionary, he traveled to Liberia as the Samaritan's Purse medical director, becoming involved in the early stages of the Ebola epidemic. And whereas his caring concern for people who suffered from Ebola and other serious health concerns are admirable, because Dr. Brantley often worked in physically demanding conditions where the inside of protective suits would reach temperatures of 115 degrees, and in a country which suffers from inadequate health care systems due to a brutal civil war. And whereas on July 23, 2014, Dr. Brantley was infected with the Ebola disease, demonstrating his extraordinary bravery and compassion by putting his life at risk in order to save lives. And whereas through the support and prayers of his family, friends, church, and community, Dr. Brantley defeated Ebola while being treated at Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. And whereas since his recovery, he has donated his plasma to others who contracted the virus while treating Ebola patients, in hopes that his antibodies could help save their lives. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby honor Dr. Brantley for his heroism, compassion, and selflessness for answering God's call to ease the suffering of victims of the Ebola disease. And further, we do hereby proclaim Tuesday, December the 9th, as Dr. Ken Brantley Day throughout Tarrant County, in witness whereof we have herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 9th day of December 2014. Dr. Brantley, we are very, very honored to have you here today, and your example is one that we all look to. We've looked to for much of this year and will look to in the future.
Move approval of the resolution.
Second.
Second.
Please
So
show of
seconds
record.
from all of us. We'll make this real easy. Motion passes unanimously. Dr. Brantley and your family, would you please come forward to the podium?
And I'd like to ask my my colleagues on the Commissioners Court to join me at the podium and help present this proclamation to Dr. Kent Brantley, to his wife Amber, to his daughter Ruby, and to his son Stephen.
Would y'all like to come up here and watch your dad? I'll come up here on the other side of the podium.
Please have support.
I've got grandkids that can do this. And I tell you what, y'all can beat on that you can beat on that gavel over in a minute and just, yeah, right there.
Hit it.
Hit it and tell him he can talk. Now let him hit it. You hit it and tell him he can talk. Just hit it right there. Good. Now say, Dad, you can talk. Well, you can talk. He's got better control.
I'd like to thank this court. I would like to thank the Tarrant County Commissioners and the people of Tarrant County for this great honor. This is nothing I ever expected, and I'm very humbled by this honor today. Thank you very much. I want to thank my Fort Worth community, the Southside Church of Christ, the JPS community, all of whom came around me in the time of my family's greatest need to support us and encourage us, support us financially, support us emotionally as we walked down the darkest road we've faced in our lives. And it was the support of these communities that played such a big role in my recovery. And it is an honor and a privilege to stand before you today and receive this humbling honor. I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge that there are so many others who have done so much more than I have done in the name of helping their fellow human beings, in the name of fighting this Ebola virus disease. Healthcare workers here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and in Atlanta and in Nebraska and in New York City and in Maryland, and healthcare workers from all over this country and all over the world who have put themselves at risk to go to West Africa, to the source of this outbreak, and fight it, sacrificing themselves, their own safety and well-being for the good of mankind. And I applaud those individuals. I'm honored to be among them. And I want to encourage those in places of leadership and authority and with some level of clout to not give up on this fight. There is much to be done. There are lives hanging in the balance. And it is our job to have compassion on our neighbors, to help those who are in great need, and to help our world be a better place by working arm in arm with our brothers and sisters around the globe to put an end to this outbreak. Thank you very much for this honor today. It is a day I will never forget. And Commissioner Brooks, thank you especially for your kind words and for your kindness you've shown to my family. God bless you. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Don't worry, Dr. Brantley, we're giving them back.
As good grandparents, you always spoil them and give them back. Thank you all again very much for being here today.
So members of the press, Dr. Brantley will be available for just a few minutes outside the courtroom door.
Give them a chance to run. Both the press and Dr. Brantley.
Yes. Well, I knew the press wasn't interested in us.
We may have to have IT back up here.
Mine's still working.
I figured it would be.
James Willis Wright.
Now, our invocation today will be delivered. We're 45 minutes into it, but our invocation today will be delivered by Darwin Jordan from the Fort Worth Presbyterian Church. After the invocation, please remain standing for our pledges. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for taking things a little out of order today.
Wonderful to be here at this time. Let us pray. But Father, we thank you in celebrating this time of the year that you revealed yourself in Christ to be not a God who manipulates, misuses, and abuses people, but you revealed yourself in Christ to be a God who sacrifices himself for people. You, the true God, are the true hero, giving your life up so that others might live. Oh Lord, we pray that as you said, let there be light in the creation of the world, so you would shine in our hearts the beauty and glory of the love of Christ, so that we might trust in your forgiveness in Christ, so that we ourselves would be transformed into your image, and like Dr. Brantley, Lord, might walk in lives of true, joyful sacrifice within our families, our churches, our community, and the world. So that we, as Jesus said, in talking about this love, will have Jesus' love, Jesus' joy in us, and have fullness of joy as we walk in that sacrificial love. And as well, may we trust you that you will be with us and do us spiritual good all the days of our lives, and then physical good, absolute physical good, in the final new heavens and new earth, in which you manifest yourself to be not only the Lord who rescues humanity, but the Lord who rescues creation itself. O Lord, we come in this season to acknowledge your birth and all that you have accomplished for mankind and for your creation. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag.
agenda announcements.
Thank you, Your Honor. We have only one announcement today as relates to the agenda. This concerns item 8(9)A, which is the approval of bonds and certificates of self-insurance. We had put that on consent. We're going to ask that it be taken off of consent because as we go through these various certificates of self-insurance, they cover some of you, and you will not be allowed to vote on your own certificate. So with that one exception, that's all the agenda announcements we have.
Okay.
Say something now.
Yes, Commissioner Fickens?
Yeah, I want to thank all of those who came out yesterday when we opened our courthouse. It's always a little scary anytime you open a new building, I would think, anywhere in the county. And I want to thank facilities who did a fabulous job in getting everything ready. I want to thank Ron Wright, tax assessor collector. Ron was out there with his red coat and bow tie and popcorn, and I don't know what else. It was like a circus. And all their new electronic stuff they've got. But Ron was out there good part of all morning, I know that. And Mary Louise Garcia, who was out there, and Judge Whitley, you were there, and I'm trying to think who else. There were a number of people came by, and it went real well. So thank you.
Thank you. It's a very, very nice facility. And I guess your official
23rd of January.
23rd of January.
Ribbon cutting day.
Excellent.
Okay, court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of December the 2nd.
Move approval. Second.
A motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. We have done the proclamation with regards to Dr. Brantley. I have a proclamation for George Willis Wright Day. And I'm going to read that into the record, and then, Mr. Wright, I'll ask you to come forward. Whereas on December the 7th, 2014, George Willis Wright will be celebrated his 90th birthday. And whereas born in Fort Worth, George Wright is the 5th generation resident of Tarrant County. And whereas the Wright family has been prominent in the civic life of Tarrant County for nearly 140 years, donating much of the land upon which the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary is built, playing a prominent role in bringing the railroad to Fort Worth and constructing the historic Tarrant County Courthouse. And whereas after graduating from Northside High School in 1942, Mr. Wright served in the United States Air Force during World War II and was stationed at, Tinian Island as a part of the B-29 ground crew. And whereas after the war, Mr. Wright attended college at Texas Christian University, where he graduated in 1951. That was the year before I was born, Mr. Wright. And continued his graduate work at Austin College. And whereas Mr. Wright taught high school for several years, becoming a counselor for the Llano Public Schools. And whereas while residing in Llano, Mr. Wright was president of the local Texas State Teachers Association, as well as president of his Rotary Club. And whereas after the birth of his third child, Mr. Wright left education to become a planner at General Dynamics and later Bell Helicopter, where he retired in 1989. And whereas as an avid reader, Mr. Wright also loves sports and the outdoors, especially fishing, hunting, and sailing. And whereas blessed with a beautiful baritone voice at 90, Mr. Wright still dons the robe and sings in the choir every Sunday at Lakeside Baptist Church. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby extend the warmest wishes and congratulate Mr. Wright, an outstanding citizen of Tarrant County, on the occasion of his 90th birthday. Be it further resolved that we, the Commissioners Court, do hereby proclaim Sunday, December the 7th, as George Willis Wright Day in Tarrant County. In witness whereof, we have herein to set our hands and cause the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 9th day of December 2014, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
All please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Wright, let me meet you at your son there, and we will see if we can't Would you like to say anything to the court? Be very careful.
You know anything about him?
This is an honor I never expected.
Well, we appreciate you very much, sir. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
This is a very happy time for my family. Obviously, I want to thank the court. It's very special. But I do want to say one thing. I have here a proclamation that Commissioners Court gave my grandfather on his 90th birthday in 1990. And what makes this special is there's one name on both proclamations, and that's Commissioner J.D. Johnson.
You know, at the rate we're going, there may be one of those things for him before long.
I want to go ahead and put in my request when I'm 90. I want his signature on my proclamation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron. Commissioner Wynn.
Yes, sir, Your Honor, and fellow commissioners. Today is a great day, isn't it? It's a wonderful day. As we prepare to celebrate Christmas, we realize that among us there are ordinary, everyday people who strive to do what is right, who rise above the difficulty and to serve God and serve one another. And we certainly saw a great example from the doctor there. But among us, we also have citizens from Arlington in Tarrant County who committed to public service. And not only that they are committed, they are determined to excel, not for themselves, but for the future of our children and therefore our community. And today, Your Honor and Commissioners, we are very proud to welcome members of the Arlington School Board. And we are honored to be able to recognize you for being recognized as the 2014 Outstanding School Board of Texas. Now, I understand that there are over 1,000 school boards around the state of Texas. And how many outstanding school boards are there? Just one or just one? So I can safely say that for 2014, you guys are the best, right? So, Your Honor, would you please read into the record?
You bet. Whereas the Arlington Independent School District is one of more than 1,027 local independent school boards in Texas, and whereas the Arlington Independent School District is fortunate to have a dedicated board of trustees committed to the vision and mission of the district, and whereas the AISD Board of Trustees believes that commitment to a clear and focused vision will guide the district to the highest performance, effective teaching and leadership are essential for student achievement, school environment impacts achievement, and engaged community is essential, and every student can succeed. And whereas the AISD Board of Trustees helps determine community goals for the education of more than 64,000 children in pre-kindergarten through 12th grade, and whereas the AISD Board of Trustees strive to ensure that all students will graduate on time as lifelong learners with a commitment to their community and excel at their school or career of choice, reach their full academic potential, and be actively involved in extracurricular and co-curricular activities. And now therefore be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, do hereby wish to congratulate the AISD Board of Trustees on being recognized by the Texas Association of School Administrators as the 2014 Outstanding School Board of Texas. And further, we wish to extend our utmost appreciation for the work that the AISD Board of Trustees does in advanced education and creating a rewarding experience for the students of the district. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed the 9th day of December 2014.
I move for its approval.
Second.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Congratulations. Y'all come forward.
I'd like to recognize Dr. Aaron Reich, Mr. Pete Barron, Ms. Keisha May, Mr. John Hibb, Ms. Gloria Pena, and Superintendent Cavazos, Dr. Cavazos, and Leslie.
Y'all come on forward. Now, surely one of y'all want to speak.
This might be dangerous giving me the mic. I don't know.
That's all right.
On behalf of our board, thank you.
You speak later.
I'll speak later.
Get your picture took. Y'all all get in there.
You have 5 minutes.
Yeah. This is truly an honor to be honored for being honored. And I will have to say, to put us in this spot this morning after the children and Dr. Brantley is not a nice thing to do. Really hard to follow that. But seriously, we are very humbled by your recognition of our work. I do want to acknowledge our board president and vice president. We're not able to be here today, Mr. Bowie Hogg and Jamie Sullins. Together with them and the rest of us, and absolutely our superintendent, we work together as a true team of 8. There's 7 trustees and our superintendent. We truly believe in servant leadership. And when we convene, we all have our eye on the prize, which is what we can do to make the best learning experience possible for our children, because it's for our community. This recognition is something that we have great pride in, but it is really something that is for the community. It's for our district. We have a district of 8,000 employees. This award is for them. We have 64,000 students north of that, actually. This award is for them. This is an award to show that when you do put your ego at the door and you come together for a common cause, great things happen. And that is truly what we have been striving to do in Arlington as a school board. We ventured out 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, in creating a strategic plan to create the vision of where we want to see public education go. And through that, we completely redesigned the instructional model for the district. We've created countless opportunities through collaborations and partnerships, many with Tarrant County entities, including this court, the juvenile justice system, Tarrant County Workforce Commission, Tarrant County College. We are humbled by the collaborative spirit. Everybody wants to see our children excel, and our children, the more successful they are, the more successful our community is. And the better the economic development, the better the care for our senior citizens, and on and on. So we are truly honored to accept this award. We were in a little bit disbelief when the announcement was made that we had made the top honor in the state. And with it, we relished in it for about 5 minutes and went right back to work. And we are in the process of implementing an historic bond package, largest in this county's history. That's all a function of our strategic plan. The other thing to say is that we are data-driven. And without having the metrics in place, we don't really know where we are or where we're trying to get to. And trying to bundle all of that business-minded principle and ethic into truly a family atmosphere, a spirit of love and giving for all of our children to create as much access as possible for them is really what we're in it for. So on behalf of this wonderful team, thank you so very much for honoring us here today. Commissioner Wynn, and thank you.
We appreciate very much you being here today. You know, as many times the proclamations, the resolutions that we have are about organizations or about causes or about things which organizations are working for. I think today has really been illustrative of Tarrant County, and what we talk about so much is the spirit of collaboration. It's the spirit of helping one another, and we saw it with Dr. Brantley, we see it with Mr. Wright, we see it with you. It's folks who are willing to give of their time for something other than themselves. It's really for the betterment of the folks that they have an opportunity to serve, or their neighbors, or their community, or folks who are in unfortunate situations at a particular time. And so really, as we look at today and we look at who we've had an opportunity to honor today, I think all three groups have been very unique in their own rights, but at the same time very much a illustration of what I believe the folks of Tarrant County represent. So thank you, congratulations. Y'all have a great holiday season.
Thank you. Thank you. You too.
Well, you guys with the cameras can go home now because they're going to get pretty boring from this point forward. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion?
Except the item that was withdrawn.
Right. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius?
Ms. McMillan is going to do the first item, Your Honor.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. We have before you today the approval of an issuance of Series 2014 Hospital Revenue Bonds by the Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation for Hendrick Medical Center in Abilene, Texas, in an amount not to exceed $25 million. The proceeds of these bonds will be used solely to refund a portion of the Tarrant County CEFFC Hospital Revenue Bonds that were issued in 2009. In your packet, I've listed the series of 2009 bonds in three series, A, B, and C, that were issued in 2009 to fund facilities for the Hendricks Medical Center. Last year, in November, the Tarrant County Cultural Education Facilities Finance Corporation issued 2013 bonds that refunded a portion of the 2009 bonds and also funded some new construction at the site. Now they're asking for approval of the issuance of Series 2014 bonds that will simply refund another portion of the 2009 bonds because of a cost savings due to the market rate. Again, the TCEFFC will issue the bonds. These are not a liability of the counties, and the approval is simply for IRS tax purposes.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Please show that Commissioner Johnson.
Thank you.
Your Honor, members of the court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the court approve an agreement between the county and the Council of State Governments Justice Center to continue the county uniform recidivism measure project.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Tidwell?
We have 3 items for the court to consider this morning. The first is to receive and file the quarterly investment report for the period ended September 30th, 2014.
Move to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, receive and file. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Again,
Our next item is to receive and file the auditor's report related to Tarrant County Jury Services. And I would simply note there that the system has some significant issues as identified in the report. And as Jury Services works with the county's IT department, hopefully with the outside vendor, we'll be able to arrive at some solutions to move forward.
Move to receive and file.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And our last item is to receive and file the auditor's report for fiscal year 2014 related to Chapter 59 assets, a forfeiture report by the law enforcement agency prepared by the Sheriff's Office. There was a finding. We don't normally have findings associated with these types of reports, but there was a finding. You have the sheriff's response, and the issues that we identified have been corrected.
Move approval to receive and file.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Wright?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have a couple of we have one subrogation and one other one. So let's start with the subrogation. Under item number 1, we're requesting authorization for the auditor to cash a check in the amount of $20,306.49.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Second item is a recovery in a antitrust litigation, requesting authorization for the auditor to cash a check in the amount of $1,925.93.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for receive and file the personnel agenda. Any discussion? Ray, are you leaving?
Not anymore.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
We didn't think so.
Good morning, and thank you. The next 4 items are requests for waiver of terminal benefits. Item number 2, we're asking the court to approve a waiver of terminal benefits for the 297th District Court. As explained in your court communique, that court has 2 bailiffs who are leaving county service at the end of this month. Their total vacation hours equals 358, and the impact to the general fund we're estimating to be approximately $11,300, including fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next waiver is for the district clerk. The district clerk has the civil assistant manager who's going to be retiring on January 2nd with 400 vacation hours. The net cost to the general fund, if approved, will be approximately $6,500, including fringe benefits.
Move for approval. Second.
A motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next waiver, submitted by the district attorney's office, is explained in your court communique. We're requesting 8 waivers, and the details, again, are attached and explained in your communique. These individuals are leaving county service at the end of this year. We're estimating the cost to the general fund to be approximately $212,396, including fringe benefits. We are expecting that some portion of this cost will be offset by other personnel changes being made in the district attorney's office.
Move approval. Second.
We have a motion is second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And your last waiver is from County Criminal Court Number 1. Judge-elect Cook is requesting a waiver for a court coordinator who may be leaving at the end of this year. If the individual leaves county service, The impact to the general fund will be, if I can read, $15,300 approximately. That includes fringe benefits.
Move approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item 6, we're asking the court to approve changes to the table of organization for the district attorney's office. Specifically, we're asking for a reclass of the chief of civil to make that an unclassified position, which in our system is shown as a 98. Also, the addition of the chief of criminal, which will also be an unclassified grade 98. The impact to the general fund, we're estimating to be approximately $228,267.
You need to move those glasses. You want me to hold them a little bit further away?
Please, I need help.
I move approval. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
So item number 7, we're asking the court to approve a double fill and a waiver for the DA's office. As explained in your court communique, the double fill will be for the chief of civil for the month of January, with a waiver to be effective February 1st. We're estimating the cost to the general fund to be approximately $60,840, including fringe benefits.
Cost of transitioning.
Yes,
Move
sir.
for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
And the final item for the court, we're asking for organizational changes that will impact the 297th District Court and County Criminal Courts 1 and 2, so that the District Court Judge, Judge Hagerman.
We have a vision plan that HR can inform you about. And
I know, I have a prescription, I just haven't made it to the, I haven't made it to get my glasses yet, but, well, they're reading glasses, so, sorry, I just picked them up at CVS.
Let me make this easy for you. I move.
Thank you.
I move approval.
Thank you, Commissioner.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Commissioner
You need
Johnson.
help back to your seat?
No, sir, I'm good.
Mr. Wright,
Yes.
the reason I asked you to come back in here is I know that you're retiring at the end of the year, and this is our last official meeting, and so I just wanted to thank you for your years of public service to Tarrant County. Mr. Collins isn't over there, is he? He's not here
He's
today.
back here.
Marvin, get out here.
Usually getting coffee or something like that.
Both of these gentlemen, and there may be others that I'm probably going to get told that I should have included in this, but both of these gentlemen have served Tarrant County for decades, not years, but for decades. And both are retiring, and I just wanted to personally thank each one of them for the service that you've given to Tarrant County and for everything you've done for not only the District Attorney's Office, but for the court in the time that you've been with Tarrant County. Thank you very, very much.
Turn around because Phillips wants to get a picture of that.
Y'all act like you like it.
First time I've ever seen you use a camera.
Now, with a great deal of hesitancy, I ask either one of you if you would like to say anything.
But we're not going to be as liberal with you as we were with the Arlington School District. You don't have 10 minutes either.
We're speaking for 7 people.
It's been a privilege to serve the best district attorney's office in the best county in the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Well, I'll take longer.
Of course you will.
When I started, of course, Commissioner Johnson was sitting right over there. And
Thank you, Ray.
but you'd only been here 6 months.
Huh?
You'd only been here 6 months, I think. Or maybe a year and 6 months.
When did you come?
July of '87.
I came January of '87, so
Thought so. Thought so.
close.
And this fellow came 1 year later. And It's been a remarkable time here, and I really appreciate working with all you guys and all you ladies and everyone. Really do. Yeah, you'll see me cheer up even, too, something that's not ever done. But I've appreciated all the time I've had here. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Chris, you can come forward.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Chris.
We have one item for the court's consideration this morning. It is requested that the Commissioners Court approve RFO number 2015-051 Motorola radio fleet replacement lease purchase utilizing the State of Texas Department of Information Resources, the DIR contract, number DIR-SDD 2203 for information technology with Motorola Solutions. The amount of this request is $3,783,063. And this is going to be to replace about 1,059 radios in a negotiation that we did, which would be over the next 5 years and save Tarrant County over $1 million.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion, a second. The sheriff has approved this. The sheriff's department has approved this.
Yes, I have Dr. Metcalf here, if he can attest to that.
Yes, sir. I've discussed this with Sheriff Anderson, and he is perfectly comfortable with the proposal as presented.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
I just want to quickly say something real quickly. Chris, thank you, and thank you, the IT team and the purchasing team, for basically working together and looking beyond what is. And because of that, you were able to structure the deal and save the county over $1 million in 5 years. And that is a great achievement. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome, sir.
Thanks, Chris. Mr. Beecham.
This guy's in a bowl game?
Arkansas is not in the Big Four.
You're in a bowl game, Mark.
Actually, we played University of Texas. I understand Mr. Mendez has already asked for time off that week, but
What are y'all's records like?
Where do y'all play? Are y'all playing in North Dakota?
Houston proper, if Houston is proper.
Is Ray back in the Roadkill Bowl?
Sir?
Are you in the Roadkill Bowl?
You'd be better off to introduce your son who's in
Collectively,
the Navy.
between both teams, 12.
How many losses?
12.
Just thought I'd ask.
My son is here from the Navy,
Yeah.
from Norfolk. Been here for a
why
few
don't you go
days, and
there?
he did ask me a question on your behalf. He said, "Well, he was quite pleased as I was that we played University of Texas." And he said, "Now, who does LSU play?" I said, "Well, the Pope's team, Notre Dame." He said, "Well, that'll sure take divine intervention for them to win that one, but we do have 8 items for your consideration this morning."
What's your son? You going to introduce?
You going to introduce your son, or you just going to go right by that?
And the Army-Navy game is this weekend, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, then.
And he's rooting for the Navy.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
suspect.
You on the USS Enterprise?
Yes, sir, I am. I'm currently stationed aboard USS Enterprise, Norfolk, Virginia. We're in the process of inactivating her right now, so never a dull moment because she's actually the first, not the first nuclear ship to ever be inactivated, but the first nuclear aircraft carrier to ever be inactivated. So we're kind of writing the book as we go. We're getting it from, makes you guys feel any better. I know it's hectic up here. It's interesting for me to see, a different side of the house from how we run things on the government side. But if it makes you feel any better, we're getting it from everybody from naval reactor to the DOD, anybody you name it. So it's hectic on our side of the house too. And if I may, just take a minute. this time of the year, I always like to remind people to keep my brothers and sisters in arms in your thoughts. Whoever you pray to, but definitely keep them in your thoughts and your hearts. This time of year, we enjoy being with our families. There's a lot of joy, but there's also, you got to remember that there's somebody who's out there standing watch, and they're not with their family. And so you guys please keep them in your thoughts and your prayers.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for your service. Looks a lot like his mother.
Sir?
A lot like his mother.
I hope.
Thank goodness.
He does bleed red, too. We have 8 items for your consideration this morning. Our first item is a bid award recommendation for RFP 2014-167. This is for MicroStrategy Intelligence Server Upgrade. Recommendation would be to award to Sogeti in the amount of $72,500. If the court approves this, we're also seeking contract approval.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our second item is also a bid award recommendation for RFP 2015-011. It's an RFP for substance abuse outpatient treatment services for CSCD. We're recommending awarding this per the terms of the contract, awarding to the 7 vendors as shown in your court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 3 is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-014. This is our annual contract for modular furniture and movable demountable walls. Recommendation be awarded on a per unit price basis, awarding to Royer and Schutz and Interior Resources.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 4 is also a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-026. This is a bid for the purchase of furniture for the Civil Courts Building. Our recommendation would be to award on a per unit price basis, awarding to the low bidders, Intelligent Interior, Inc., Corporate Source, and Interior Resource.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 5, again, is a bid award recommendation for bid 2015-032. This is our semi-annual contract for copy paper and stock computer forms. Recommendation would be to award on a per unit price basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors meeting specifications.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 6 is an item in regards to RFQ 2015-029. This is request for qualifications for heavy-duty non-consent towing services for the Sheriff's Department. We're seeking approval from the court to utilize the qualified vendors on a rotational basis.
Non-consent.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Item number 7 is an item in regards to RFQ 2015-031. This is request for qualifications for light and medium-duty non-consent towing services, again for the Sheriff's Department. Again, we're seeking approval to use the qualified vendors on a rotational basis.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Our last item, number 8, is an item in regards to RFP 2015-007. This is request for proposal for information technology staffing augmentation services. We are recommending rejection of all proposals and seeking permission to rebid with revised specifications. There were some problems in regards to the overtime verbiage. We couldn't reach a consensus. We tried to meet several times. We do plan to rebid this when those problems are solved internally.
Move approval.
Second.
A motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wynn, I believe you have an interlocal agreement.
Yes, sir. I move for the approval of item M, 1A and B.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Are there any appointments today? There appearing to be none. Then we have certain bonds that we need to pass today.
Good morning. Is it still morning?
Good morning.
Barely.
Good morning.
Yes, we're asking for the approval of certificates of self-insurance for the following elected officials, and we're going to take these in 4 different groups. I'm going to read their names into the record. The first is County Court at Law judges, being Don Pearson, Jennifer Reimel, Mike Rabel. County Criminal Court judges, Deborah Neecum, Jamie Cummings, Molly Jones, Cheryl Hardy, Brent Carr, and Phil Sorrells. Probate Court judges, Steve King and Pat Furchill. Justices of the Peace, Ralph Swearingen, Mary Tom Canutt, Russell Casey, Jacqueline Wright, Sergio De Leon, Gary Ritchie, Matt Hayes, and Lisa Woodard.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
The next being County Commissioner Andy Wynn, along with his ex officio road commissioner certificate.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously with Commissioner Wynn abstaining on this particular vote.
The next is Commissioner J.D. Johnson, and again, along with his ex officio road commissioner certificate.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously with, well, it doesn't pass unanimously. Commissioner Johnson abstained.
The last but not least being the county judge, Glenn Whitley.
Move approval.
Second.
Please vote. Please show that Judge Whitley abstained. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Court members, you have before you the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second.
We have a motion is second to approve the claims, including the addendum. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Briefing items. Why don't we start with public health? That will allow.
You want to clear the courtroom, do you?
Well, just that way at least. These folks they've gotten a full day here just in Tarrant County, and so we'll give them an opportunity to get done and get out of here.
Well, good morning, members of the court, and Your Honor. Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. So we heard this morning about Ebola again, and we were able to recognize and thank Dr. Brantley. But that also brings back the focus and attention to a deadly disease that's been spreading across in West Africa. In the United States, we only saw one death, and look how much attention we've paid to that disease. But I wanted to shift focus and bring attention to a deadly disease that kills about 35,000 people every year.
Yes.
And in this year, in this season, just yesterday, we got reports of 2 Tarrant County adult deaths with flu. So just to kind of bring back everything into focus, that flu is here. It's a deadly disease to be taken very seriously. We tend to get complacent with the flu. Oh, it's just the flu. It is not. It can be very serious, and it can cause a lot of hospitalizations and deaths. So today I'm going to talk about the flu, but in a different sense. Flu is typically not reportable to public health. We do surveillance on the flu through influenza-like illness surveillance. Adult deaths are not typically reportable. Pediatric deaths are required by law to be reported to public health. So we find out about adult deaths just with good relationships with the hospitals and things like that. So we usually don't have a lot of numbers to share on those. But on influenza-like illness, we do typical surveillance through a Sentinel provider network. Because flu is so prevalent, we don't go count individual cases of things. We have certain providers that we just talk to and see how many influenza-like illnesses are appearing, and we present it as a percentage. So first, to define a influenza-like illness, it's a fever of equal to or greater than 100 degrees Fahrenheit with a cough and or a sore throat. Since influenza is not reportable, ILI or influenza-like illness is used as a good surveillance measure for flu activity. This is a local Tarrant County chart that you're looking at, and it represents, a baseline, the gray line at the bottom that you're seeing, and previous 3 to 4 seasons here. And the current seasons are represented with the red line that you're seeing. As you can see, we're starting to rise in influenza-like illness activity about 3 weeks ahead of time. Yeah. And it's taking a straight shot upward. So we're looking at potentially an early peak in the disease activity. We're anecdotally finding that a lot of people are calling in sick or taking off from work because they're sick and things like that. So this is very representative of what's going on in our community. If you look nationally, the picture is pretty similar. It's kind of hard to see here, but the red line again is starting to show an early rise. The blue line that you saw was 2012 and 13 season. 2013-14 was a little milder, but we're starting to show an early increase here. So the situation is, picking up. It's heating up very quickly.
But it would be fair to say that the disease is rising at a greater rate in Tarrant County than it is in the nation as a whole.
Well, so the next chart here will show you that the southern states, next slide, please. I think there's a Q error here. There we go. So the southern states are being affected heavily at this time. Texas is, seeing a lot of activity, as you can see from the chart. But Louisiana and Alabama are pretty hard hit at this point. So in the southeast of the country, and I think in the Midwest, only Illinois is showing, activity that's very similar. That can happen. Occasionally we've seen that happen, that it concentrates in one part of the country. A lot of factors go into affecting that. How the weather patterns are, how well your community is participating in taking the flu shots. There's another situation that's going on that I'm going to explain a little bit, that there is a flu strain, a antigenically drifted strain that has emerged. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, and I'll explain what that is. But just to kind of continue on, next slide, please. There we go. Yeah. So there is a predominant strain right now there's three types of flu types that we talk about: influenza A, influenza B, and influenza C. C is not very commonly seen, so you hardly ever hear about it. Influenza A is very common, and so is influenza B. This year, CDC ran, again, they do some surveillance samples, and across the country, they found that 90% of the samples that they're testing as lab-confirmed flu are influenza A, so it's predominantly influenza A at this point in our communities. And 10% of that is influenza B. So if all the influenza A's that are being tested, so we're talking about the 90%, majority of them are influenza A, H3, and 2. H1N1 is still out there, but it's not the predominant strain. There was only a few samples that are testing positive for that. But out of the H3 and 2s that are being tested, and that's been the strain that's been going around for the last couple of years, 50% of those have antigenically now drifted away to a newer version, H3 and 2 Switzerland strain. It was discovered back in 2013. The United States saw some cases emerge in March of 2014. Now, the timing was sort of unfortunate because the flu vaccine was already in production by February. They have two types of, vaccine available at this point. There's a trivalent, which has the influenza A H1N1, influenza A H3N2, and one strain of influenza B. And then there's a quadrivalent that has another strain of influenza B available in there. But what has happened is, due to this antigenic drift, so there's a term called antigenic shift where there's a drastic mutation in the virus and a new strain emerges. And antigenic drift is slow accumulation of mutations over time that it starts to look and feel different, acts different. So if you don't have it in the vaccine, then the efficacy of the vaccine is limited to the strains that it covers. So people tend to focus, again, on the negative. 50% of the strains that are out there circulating are not covered with the vaccine. Well, if you do the math, 10% of the influenza B is covered, and half, which is 45% of the influenza A, is covered. So vaccine is still our best bet at this point, best protection against the flu. If you add up the numbers, 55% of the circulating strains out there are covered by the vaccine. So I'll take that those odds any day. So I remind everybody today, don't put this off, take your flu shot. But yes, there is a strain out there that is not at this point covered with the vaccine. Next slide, please. There you go. So CDC and Tarrant County Public Health, we concur with this three-pronged approach. The best protection against the flu still out there today is to get immunized. The second thing you can do is, practice good hygiene. And again, it goes back to, washing your hands often throughout the day, covering your cough and sneezes in your sleeve, also staying home when you're sick. The final thing that we recommend highly, and so does the CDC, is to take the antiviral medications, Tamiflu or Relenza, whatever your doctor prescribes, as prescribed. A lot of folks tend to either wait or they don't finish their course, and that causes, again, antiviral resistance. Like you've seen with antibiotics, resistance emerges. That happens with viruses too, and it has been seen with the flu. So we recommend that if your doctor prescribes you an antiviral early in your disease, it's very effective if you start within the 48 hours of symptom onset, then you must finish the whole course of the antiviral prescribed. So those three things, if they're done, give you the best protection against the flu. But if you were to do just one thing today, is to get your flu vaccine. And next slide, please. So vaccine efficacy sometimes gets into question. Like I said, that 55% of the circulating virus out there is covered by the vaccine. So it is still our best bet. And I would recommend, if you can find the quadrivalent, the Public Health Department has that available, and so do many pharmacies and private providers. Get the quadrivalent vaccine if you can get it. And a new strain has emerged, but that's fairly typical of the flu. That's why it's very important that we take the flu shot every year, because flu does tend to change how it appears, and it messes up our plans to protect against the flu. So with that, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
I'd just like to point out that the reason that vaccine was so late in arriving to Tarrant County Public Health and therefore becoming available to county employees was because we were waiting for the quadrivalent, which is the most efficacious of the two types of vaccine available.
Absolutely. Trivalent, like I said, does not cover one particular strain of the influenza B. Quadrivalent does that. They've started to, create both. Again, it's hard to kind of sometimes gauge the demand and all of those type of things. So they've created almost half and half of those. As far as I know, I think there's about 155 million doses of the flu vaccine created this year, and about half of those are quadrivalent and half of those are trivalent. Over time, we may see one of them kind of phase out, but at this time, it's half and half. It's both are available. Any other questions?
Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Members, if we can go back to item A. As you might recall, the Commissioners Court had contracted with the Corley Pipes consulting firm to provide to support our efforts at the federal level. Today we're going to have our first briefing as relates to that particular activity. Mr. Pipes is here to address the court at this time.
Well, thank you all very much.
Good morning.
Good morning, members of the court, Mr. County Commissioner, members of the staff. I bring season's greetings from Washington. We're still in a lame duck session, which I'll mention here in a minute. My partner is there right now. But we're very delighted to be representing the county in Washington, and we think this being our home county where we live, we can do a lot of good, and we can fight the good fight for our home county. I do want to mention briefly, before we talk about the slides in front of you, the lame duck that's going on, just so you know where we are. What's being called the Cromnibus, combination continuing resolution and omnibus, is going to be passed this week. It will fund everything but DHS. DHS is being set aside for a smaller bill and a smaller length of time of approval, probably 3 to 4 months. The reason being Republicans want to fight immigration a little bit, and DHS is the funding mechanism for much of our immigration programming. So everything else will be funded this week. DHS will be on a separate track, and we'll keep you updated on that as well. The agenda in front of you is the culmination of a series of meetings that we had with each of you, as well as the county commissioner, as well as some other senior staff. And the issues that were talked about were pretty consistent across the board in all of our conversations. So as we look to the next slide. Okay, sorry. There we go. There we go. One of the things that guided our conversations with you all and then resulted in the priorities that you're going to see in the next couple of slides are a couple of things that we've observed from our practice in Washington. One is the fact that we need to focus on using congressional influencers. And what we mean by this is, in a post-earmark world, with Congress sort of ceding a lot of decisions over funding to the agencies, we need to be able to focus a lot of our time and effort on the agencies, but use our congressional friends to help us. And that's what we mean by the congressional influencers model. So even if we are pursuing a county agenda at a federal agency, we still want to include Congressman Vesey, Congresswoman Granger, Congressman Barton, whoever, and we'll do that. Secondly, we will work directly with the agencies. Again, this is a whole new world in Washington since the 2010 earmark ban, so a lot of the work will have to be by necessity at the agency level. And then obviously promoting cooperation between delegation offices. We want to work in a bipartisan way to use all of our allies in the Congress to help us get our agenda passed. So the first priority that came up time and again in our meetings was transportation. Obviously, we're going to want to track appropriations, the authorization, and the regulatory process. The Highway Trust Fund, as you'll recall, was temporarily continued in August. That expires again in May, so we'll want to watch that very closely. Here locally, we have issues with I-30, 360, 820, 287. We're going to keep our eyes and ears open on that. Western Tarrant County Transportation, very important to Judge Whitley and Commissioner Johnson. We're going to work on that, and then TIFIA. What I would say about these slides is this is sort of the first step. Here are the issues that we all agreed we want to work on. The next step is we're going to come back to you in probably a month with what we call a staging document, which is sort of our game plan on each one. And that's when we can start to talk about scheduling trips, having you all come help us with meetings, having you all come help us advocate for our policies. But these are the transportation priorities that came up time and again in our meetings. Healthcare, obviously, a very important issue, both with regard to county health and JPS. The 1115 waiver came up in several meetings, as did MHMR and associated services, and emergency response efforts. And when we saw this morning with Dr. Brantley, the importance of being prepared for all circumstances, and there is federal money in many cases that can be pursued on some of those issues. And then finally, what we call administrative issues. This is a bucket where we put a variety of issues that came up with different commissioners that basically aren't really statutory issues. They are dealt with primarily at the agency. So we're talking about things like grants, regulations, the discretionary powers of the agencies. So we're going to work very closely with Debbie Fillmore. I had a very good conversation with her about the grant process. Essentially, what we can do on the grant side is once the county identifies a potential funding mechanism, we can help advocate for that application and help bring a little bit of pressure to bear on the decision makers that it would be a really good idea for Tarrant County to win. So there's a number of those that we'll be looking at. There's a number of other issues that came up in our conversations. Obviously, the passport office for Commissioner Fickus, which we're already engaged on. The issue with the road at the Eagle Mountain Lake area that Commissioner Johnson is working on with us. And then Commissioner Wynn mentioned the discrepancy between texting on 9/11 versus phone calling, which is an FCC issue, which we're going to work on as well. This is by no means the sum of everything we'll do together. Other issues will come up throughout the course of time. And as they do, we encourage you to call us, reach out to us, and we'll take a look at it and see what we can do. The last sentence in this paragraph mentions the staging document we talked about earlier. We'll bring that back to you early in 2015, and we can start looking at scheduling trips and creating sort of a metrics that you can watch and see kind of the progress that we're making on each of these priorities. Our contact information you all have. You can call us or email us anytime. I am typically here, although I do travel to Washington some. Scott, Monday through Friday, is in Washington, and then he comes back on the weekends. I think I get a much better deal than he does on that, but he doesn't seem to mind too much. And we're reachable, both of us, at any time. So with that, those are the results of our meetings with you all. We thank you for your help and input. And again, we look very much look forward to working with all of you to get a lot of things done in the next few months. Any questions or comments?
I just want to thank you for keeping us updated on what's going on. Appreciate it.
Yeah. We will, when we know something, you will know it as well. We'll make that a priority.
I would like to see some work done on jail health, both physical and mental health, as we discussed earlier. When an inmate is arrested and does not bond out of jail, they lose their federal benefits. they lose their Medicaid, their Medicare, their veterans benefits. And so the care, the medical care for those persons, rather than being paid by the federal government through their federal benefits, transfers to the local taxpayer. And that's an unfunded mandate that we ought to be fighting.
And we will. The debate we had was sort of where to put that in the agenda. The criminal justice stuff came under the administrative slide, as you saw. That's, as you know, that's more of a statutory issue, but we're very much going to look at that. Marlon is going to help us on that, as you know.
Okay.
So that it is in our on our list. It's something that we'll work on, and we'll keep you posted on it.
Thank you.
There may be some opportunities there to get the state to not suspend benefits until after a period.
And not terminate, but to suspend.
Got to suspend, you're right. The other thing is that one of the things that we learned through the whole Ebola issue was how we had to dance around the HIPAA requirements as we dealt with other governmental agencies within the county. And so that may be something else where we need, or maybe through some regulations, we could get some clarity as to what one healthcare organization might be able to provide in the way of information to other governmental entities, EMS, different things along that top lines.
Yeah, HIPAA is an interesting law because, as you recall, it came out of a 1996 portability law. So the original intent was portability, moving health insurance around. So it was never really designed. It sort of helps explain why it's had a troubled history. It wasn't designed purely as HIPAA. So it is something that is an issue, and we should take a look at it because it creates lots of issues, I'm sure, for all of our healthcare providers. But it's certainly in a time of a crisis, as you saw with Ebola. So we'll add that as well.
Anything else? Casey, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Wish you a holiday if we don't see you.
Members of the court, we could go to item B. We just heard from the federal level. Now we'll hear from the state level. Mr. Mendez.
Good morning, Your Honor. Members of the court. I'll be very brief. I just wanted to mention that some of the things that have gone on since the filing period started for state legislation. That period began 1 week after the election, and thus far there have been approximately 400 bills filed. We've already added about 100 of those to our tracking list. I prepared for you a short list of those issues that have popped up in the bill filing process that are of particular interest to the county. Among those, of course, we know that a revenue cap bill has been filed by Senator Betancourt, Senate Bill 182, that cuts the rollback rate in half to 4% and eliminates the petition requirement for an election. So it's an automatic election if you hit that 4%. There have already been a handful of appraisal cap bills filed. Most notably, Senator Nichols has filed his bill that reduces the 10% rate down to 5%. And if we want to go up to that 10% rate, then we would have to initiate an election. We've already had some discussions with our delegation on those issues, and generally they've been sympathetic to us so far. The other big issue that has surfaced at this point has been several bills filed regarding options for transportation funding. There have been at least a dozen as of yesterday that have been filed, and typically what will happen is all these bills will get assigned to one committee, and the chairman of that committee will look for some sort of commonality, a thread of commonality in all those bills, and they will lump them into some omnibus bill that will eventually get a hearing, probably several hearings, sometime in late February or early March. So we still have to wait for a lot of this to percolate through the process before we'll get any feel for what is actually going to be brought to the floor, if anything. Several key dates that I would note. Of course, the start of the session begins on January the 13th. A week following, on the 20th, will be the swearing in of the new governor and lieutenant governor. The Tarrant County Day at the Capitol will be on February 25th and 26th. I think your offices have already been notified of that. The bill filing deadline The 60th day of the session will be March 13th, and until then, no action can happen on anything of any substance on the House floor unless it is regarding a supplemental budget for paying for things that they haven't allocated in this current biennium, or anything that goes on an emergency call. And so far, I have gotten no word that anything like that is likely to happen early in the session. But that can change.
Can they suspend the rules?
That's a good question. I think they can, but
Then it's open season. Anything
possibly.
can happen.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
they can, but they've not done it.
It has to be declared an emergency, that's correct. I would mention briefly the issue that you brought up about the suspension of benefits for prisoners in the jail. A bill has already been filed to address that at the state level. It's more of a voluntary notification process involving the Sheriff's Department and the Sheriff's Office and notification of the federal agencies, so we'll be monitoring that very closely.
Thank you.
We've already had several meetings with our local delegation to talk about these issues, and several more will continue over the next couple of weeks, but until the beginning of the session, that's where we are at the moment.
Thank you. Any questions?
Finally, members of the court, on item D, this is a report on the annual contract for office supplies. Mr. Beecham is here to address the court.
More revenue.
Or not.
Huh?
Or not.
No, it's going to be more revenue. Jack wouldn't bring it up here if it wasn't.
Sir? Court members, on November 18th, 2014, we brought to the court for your consideration bid number 2015-018, which is our annual contract for office supplies. That was approved subsequently under Court Order 119006. At that time, I made mention of the 1.5% rebate increase that Staples was going to provide to Tarrant County. We've had some conversations since that time to now, and that 1.5% increase does still stand. We have, however, talked about possibly redistributing that 1.5% rebate to the 52 entities that now purchase off that contract from Tarrant County. On the previous bid, they received from 0 to $249,000 and some change, a 1% rebate. We are proposing a 2.5% rebate, which is at 1.5%. 250 to 499,999, 2% going to 3.5%, and over $500,000 spend, previous 3 to 4.5%. What we're suggesting doing is Tarrant County receiving the previous 3% that we got as the host for this contract. We want to enhance the growth of the contract. There has been some concern that, and maybe some folks' eyes, the rich get richer, us being Tarrant County, and there's a possibility that we would receive less revenue for the 4.5% rebate to the county versus the 3% on potentially more business. There's still some large entities out there, the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. I'd certainly like Mayor Price to ask them why they aren't buying off our contract. We certainly support them, and that ought to be a pretty good question for somebody. Some other entities, and everybody would benefit. I think it would be a win-win for Tarrant County. It makes our cooperative effort even more transparent, and we're giving back to the entities and encouraging them to participate and save the millions of tax dollars that we've already saved collectively with their help. I know you can't vote on that today, but we'd like some direction, and if it's positive or negative, we'll bring that back to the court, the first court in January.
Jack kind of mentioned this to me, and I think the 3% was a good amount to cover what we have, but I think any extra we get back, I think we give that back to everybody, give it back to all the members, and that just encourages them to stick with us and go forward.
Is one firm all that we're doing this with?
We have a couple of smaller ones. This is the largest one, and if you remember, Commissioner Johnson, we talked about that. We explore new opportunities every time. Not all of the contracts that we award is this possible, but we have one with a food vendor. We have an agreement with Melissa. Help me with. What is the vendor that we have a rebate from?
Can you get that?
Rebate with the Buy Board. We do a lot of interlocal contracts with Buy Board. We get about 3% back with them as well.
Who's the office buyer?
But we don't know, do we know what exactly we're being transparent and we're telling everybody what we're getting as well as what they're getting. Does the Buy Board give us that same information?
They would give it to us. You would have to ask as an entity. I can assure you that that's not posted. We don't put this on our website, but in a conversation with Staples, we also gave them the authority to tell another entity what the rebates are. This is a totally transparent co-op and the most pure co-op in the state of Texas. The Buy Board, I can assure you, don't tell folks how much money they're keeping in the bucket, and they charge the vendors 5% on the front end, and we've certainly covered our expenses. And I think by allowing this rebate to go back to the participating entities, it's a good faith effort from Tarrant County. I think we can really grow what we have, and we have in the audience Steve Suk and Dave Gorman. If you have questions for them, or they can tell you about their marketing plan if you want to hear those comments this morning.
I feel pretty good about going ahead and going forward with this. Let's just go ahead and, unless, I don't hear any objections, so
Keep going.
we're good. I think just keep going forward and make the adjustments and things along that line.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank y'all.
That's all we have at this time, Your Honor.
We'll recess our open.
Ready? Great.
Having returned from our closed session and there being no business to conduct at this time, we are adjourned.